Do you really know what your silence is costing you? You weren't born harmless. You were made harmless, shaped by soft commands and quieter threats. Be nice. Be easy. Don't make anyone uncomfortable. Every time you had a sharp edge, someone blunted it in the name of being good. Polite. Pleasant. Powerless. Now look at you. Walking apology, empty smile, an open door for every passing storm. You don't push back, you don't speak up, and when you finally scream inside, no one hears it. Not even you. And still, you wonder why you feel hollow, why your body is tired even after sleep, why your anger festers beneath your skin like a second soul trying to claw out. The world didn't want you powerful, it wanted you obedient. But you're starting to remember, aren't you? Say the word, and we begin. To accept yourself completely means welcoming back the parts you've exiled, the voice that says no without guilt, the fury that burns when someone crosses a line, the instinct that wants to protect you, not please them, but you were taught to fear those parts. You were taught they make you dangerous, so you amputated yourself to survive. You wore the mask, your persona, crafted carefully to keep peace, to win approval, but the cost was authenticity. The cost was power. They called it maturity. They called it being a good person. But really, it was compliance dressed up in virtue. They taught you that if you just stayed kind enough, small enough, agreeable enough, nothing bad would happen. But it did, didn't it? Your boundaries vanished. Your voice cracked. Your energy leaked into everyone else's chaos. You stopped defending yourself because the voice of protection sounded too much like aggression, and so the shadow, the rejected force within, began to hunger. And you began to fracture. Jung called this the split in the psyche, the inner war between who you are and who you're pretending to be. But here's the truth you've been starved of. You don't become whole by being harmless. You become whole by being honest, even if that honesty shakes the room. Even if your truth makes someone else uncomfortable, especially then, the self you buried isn't gone. It's waiting, furious, patient, loyal. It's not here to destroy you, it's here to defend you, and you'll need it. Because in a world that devours the soft-hearted and rewards the manipulative, innocence without boundaries is not virtue, it's vulnerability. And if you don't learn to protect your fire, someone else will learn to use it against you. Are you ready to meet the part of you that never stopped fighting? There is a particular kind of exhaustion that sleep does not touch, the kind that seeps into your soul, slow and silent, like ink bleeding into water. It doesn't come from doing too much, it comes from becoming too little. You shrink every time you say yes when you mean no. You bleed every time you swallow the truth just to keep the peace. Peace, that lie they sold you. It's not peace if it costs you your voice. It's not love if it requires your disappearance. And now, here you are, haunted by 1,000 almost arguments, rehearsed comebacks, unsent messages. You replay them in your head at night, don't you? The things you should have said, the things you wanted to scream. But all that ever escaped your lips was a smile. You've made yourself so safe that even you can't feel yourself anymore. You wonder why you don't feel alive, why your emotions feel like they belong to someone else. It's because you traded your fire for approval. You abandoned yourself to be accepted. And now, there is a grief in your chest that you don't have words for. A mourning for a self you never got to become. You keep looking for your strength in self-help books, in affirmation apps, in quiet therapy rooms. But it's not there. It's in the part of you you've been running from. The part that still rages when someone interrupts you. The part that recoils when you fake one more laugh. The part that never believed the lie that playing small is holy. You're not weak. You're starved of honesty, of space, of the permission to take up air and not apologize for it. They told you to be light, but never told you that light can blind. They told you to be kind, but never told you that kindness without backbone becomes self-erasure. They told you to be understanding, but never taught you how to say, I understand you, but I still choose me. You became the mirror to everyone's needs. Now you don't recognize your own reflection. But you can feel it now, can't you? The ache beneath the niceness, the tension in your jaw, that's not weakness. That's the part of you that's still alive, still watching, still waiting. Let's talk about why you buried it in the first place. The reason you feel split is because you are. There is the self you show and the self you suppress, the mask you wear to survive and the wild, wordless force beneath it. Jung called this the shadow, not because it's evil, but because it's unseen, unwelcomed. What you deny becomes what you project. What you repress becomes what you attract. You were taught to kill your fire, so now you're drawn to people who burn you. You were taught to silence your truth, so now you find yourself unheard. You don't choose them consciously. The psyche is far too clever for that. It pulls you into patterns that echo the original wound. And the wound was this: you must abandon yourself to be loved. And so, you performed. You shaped yourself into whatever version kept you safe. Smaller, softer, smiling. That's the persona, the social mask, the survival role. But no mask is weightless. Wearing it every day drains your psychic energy. It leeches your vitality, moment by moment. Not just because it's false, but because you know it's false. You feel the tension between the role and the real. And that tension becomes anxiety, depression, fatigue. You were not born anxious. You became anxious the moment you learned it wasn't safe to be yourself. You weren't born tired. You became tired from holding back the tide of who you really are. The unconscious will do anything to get your attention. It will sabotage relationships, ruin routines, sicken the body. Not to punish you, but to wake you, to whisper the life you've built is too small for your soul. Come back to the parts you buried. They remember who you are. And here's the paradox. The very parts you're ashamed of, the anger, the wildness, the grief, they aren't your weakness. They're your compass. They point to where the fracture began. They are not asking for exile. They are begging for integration. Do you see it now? You've been living as half a self. No wonder the world feels too heavy. Are you ready to see the faces of the ones you've been performing for? Let me show you the stage you've been trapped on and the characters who keep your mask in place. First, there is the persona bearer, the smile you wear like armor. It flatters, it pleases, it nods, even when your gut clenches. It says, I'm fine, with a tremble in the throat. It has one job. Make sure no one is ever uncomfortable, even if it means you're dying inside. You became this bearer out of necessity, not cowardice. You needed to be loved, to be safe. So you played the role. But the role became a cage. Then there's the psychic vampire. You know this one. They are drawn to your light, not because they want to share it, but because they know you won't say no. They drain you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And you let them, don't you? Because part of you still believes that if you give enough, they'll finally see you, but they won't. They don't feed on your love. They feed on your self-abandonment. And in the shadows, unseen even by you, waits the shadow stranger. They are everything you've tried not to be. Loud, angry, unapologetic. They speak with a voice you recognize but have never allowed to rise. You've dreamed of them maybe, in moments of fantasy, when you finally told someone off, or walked away, or screamed back. That's not a fantasy. That's a fragment of your truth. You're not afraid of being too much. You're afraid of realizing you were never too little to begin with. And here's the cruel irony. The more you reject your shadow, the more you attract those who embody it. The manipulator, the taker, the dominant. Why? Because the psyche seeks wholeness. And if you won't integrate your power, you'll seek it out in others, even when it hurts you. These archetypes are not just external forces, they are mirrors, each one reflecting a truth you've buried, a truth you can no longer ignore. So ask yourself, which mask have you worn for too long? Which vampire have you fed with your silence? Which stranger inside you have you tried to kill just to feel accepted? We cannot heal what we won't name, and now you've named them. Are you ready to take your energy back? Pause. Breathe. Look at your life. Not from the surface, but from the soul. How much of it is truly yours? How many decisions were made from desire, and how many from fear? How many times have you betrayed your own knowing just to keep someone else comfortable? Ask yourself, what part of me did I sacrifice to be accepted? And what did that acceptance cost you? Do you even know what your own voice sounds like anymore when it's not edited for politeness, filtered through fear? When was the last time you said no and didn't explain yourself? When was the last time you said yes and actually meant it? How many times have you apologized just for having needs? What would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for existing? Feel that ache in your chest. That's not weakness, that's grief, that's power denied. Now ask yourself this, what if nothing is wrong with me, except that I've never been fully myself? Let that question echo. Let it unsettle you. Let it break the surface of who you've been pretending to be. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be powerful. And now, we begin. This is the part where everything changes, where the sorrow becomes sacred, where the anger becomes holy, where you stop trying to fix yourself and start reclaiming yourself. You are not broken. You are bound by stories that never belong to you. It's time to burn them. You don't need more healing circles. You need boundaries. You need to say no like it's a birthright. You need to choose silence, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of sovereignty. Because not everything deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. They taught you that choosing yourself was selfish. They lied. Choosing yourself is sacred. And sometimes it's violent. Violent in the way nature is. Unapologetic in its seasons, fierce in its protection. You don't need to be agreeable. You need to be aligned. You don't need to be gentle. You need to be true. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world convinced you to forget. That version of you, the one who didn't explain her no, who didn't shrink his dreams, who didn't apologize for existing, is not gone. They are under the rubble. They are waiting for you to dig. Here is how you begin. Withdraw your energy from the places that drain you. Stop arguing where you are not heard. Stop begging where you are not valued. Stop breaking yourself into pieces so others can feel whole. There is no salvation in self-sacrifice. You cannot pour from a corpse. Let the silence grow around you. Let people leave. Let the discomfort rise. This is the space where your power returns. You will feel lonely. You will feel scared. That is the shedding, the death of the mask. And on the other side is your real face, raw and radiant. You'll know you've reclaimed yourself when your peace starts offending people, when your no echoes louder than your old need to be liked, when your solitude feels more sacred than their approval. This is not a soft journey. This is a resurrection. And you are not here to be harmless. You are here to be whole. You were never meant to live on your knees. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be real, to be whole, to carry both the sword and the song in your spirit. But somewhere along the way, they taught you to choose only the song, to mute the warrior, to forget that you too were made to protect something sacred, yourself. And now, the part of you that remembers is stirring, slowly, relentlessly. It no longer wants to fit in, it wants to rise. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." But here's what they forget to say. When you look into your abyss, when you face your rage, your grief, your fire, you don't just meet the monster, you meet the guardian. You meet the self that was forged in silence, sharpened in sorrow, and buried under politeness. You don't become a monster when you reclaim your power. You become sovereign, and that is terrifying to those who fed off your obedience. Let them be terrified, because this is the moment you stop asking for permission to exist. This is where you rise from your own ashes, not as a people pleaser, not as a martyr, but as something ancient, something whole. So if this voice reached something deep in you, if you felt seen, cracked open, undone, then say it out loud. In the comments below, write, "I choose my peace." Not for me. For the self you lost and the self you are becoming. You've taken the mask off. You've named the shadows. You've reclaimed your voice. But now comes the most dangerous part of all, the silence that follows. Because silence isn't always healing. Sometimes silence becomes a weapon, sometimes it becomes a mirror, and sometimes it becomes the graveyard where your true self is reborn. In the next video, we'll step into that silence together. Not to run from it, but to listen. To the truth it holds, to the parts of you still speaking through the quiet. The next chapter is about the kind of silence that doesn't just change you, it reconstructs you. Subscribe if this message resonates with your inner voice, and if you're still here, you're already rising.